somebody you wanted to invite to come see a live nativity, so just don't throw it away. Give it to somebody. We're in Acts chapter 2. Talking this morning about joining the right group. You know, I'm sure we all probably belong to something, or we have in our lifetime. You know, whether it's Boy Scouts or 4-H or, you know, Lady Circle, home ec, different things we have joined in our lifetime. Maybe you joined the golf club, or maybe you joined the youth club. Just all kinds of things out there that you can join and be a part of. But today we're talking about the church and joining the church, because it is the right group to belong to. In Acts 2, we're going to start with verse 42. They were continually devoting themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Everyone kept feeling a sense of awe, and many wonders and signs were taking place through the apostles. And all those who had believed were together and had all things in common. And they began selling their property and possessions and were sharing them with all, as anyone might have need. Day by day, continuing with one mind in the temple and breaking bread from house to house, they were taking their meals together with gladness and sincerity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord was adding to their number, day by day, those who were being saved. One thing that the psychologists, counselors tell us is that every person has a need to belong. They want to belong to something. And so they will look for something to belong to. The church needs to be at the forefront of offering people something to belong to. Because if we aren't, they're going to find something else to belong to. And what they choose may not necessarily get them to heaven. There is a strong desire for us to belong. Belongingness is a human emotional need to be accepted as a member of something, some group. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be organizations, which we've mentioned already. Wanting to belong is the reason we need strong, stable relationships among ourselves. The fact that we want to belong and have relationships implies that a relationship that is greater than simple acquaintance and familiarity is something that we need to have. And we know a lot of people, but how many of them do we really have an ongoing relationship with? So we need to look for those people who we can be a part of, the right group. Belonging is something that we need for our whole lifetime. And as we go through our lives, there may be different things that we belong to. You may belong to something now that you didn't belong to earlier, and there may be something you used to belong to that you don't belong to now. But from the time you become a Christian, become a part of the church, you should continue that all through your life, because it's the right group to belong to. I once heard an old wise preacher, George Egler was his name. He said this: "It's the banana that leaves the bunch that gets peeled." And he said it kind of in a joking manner, but there's a lot of truth to that. Because as long as we stay involved and active in the church, we're going to be okay. It's when we leave the church, we get peeled. And so it's important that we stay a part of the church that we join. You know, there are people who like the big church because they can kind of get lost in it. It's kind of hard to get lost in our church, isn't it? Because we're not that big. We probably know just about everybody that comes here. And, you know, we see what people do. In a bigger church, that doesn't happen. You can kind of come to the church service and leave, and the preacher may not even know you were there. I know when you're here. And I know when you're not. If we're going to build the church in our Christian life, then we need to belong to one another. And some of the songs we sang this morning talking about that we are many, but we're still one body. You will generally join the group that has people in it that are similar to you. And you'll generally join a group that has people who do things that you like to do. You know, that just makes sense, doesn't it? And that's probably why we all are part of this church. Because we find people that we like and do things that we like to do. And so this is home for us. We become family. You know, we're all different, but yet we're all the same. We all wear the name Goshen Christian Church. We are family. You know, on the day of Pentecost, when the church began, there were about 3,000 people from 15 different countries, if you count them in the verses just before what we read, that joined the church. And it was kind of like the song that some of those people sang some stuff. We didn't know what they were saying, except we knew they were saying the same song we just sang. You know, some of those people couldn't even talk to each other because they didn't speak the same language. And so the tongues of fire came, and the apostles began to speak in languages that were understandable to the people who were there. 15 different countries represented. I don't know that there were 15 different languages because maybe some people, you know, could understand some of the other languages, but still, there were many people with many different languages, but one church. Look with me here as we consider some of the important things about joining this important right group. First thing, joining this group, it created a sense of awe. Verse 43, we find that word awe. The signs and the wonders that were taking place were confirming the truths of the gospel message that was being preached. Everyone kept feeling a sense of awe. And that kind of got people's attention as they saw things happening. And they wanted to investigate. They wanted to know what was going on with this group of people. And as people began to investigate that, they wanted to be a part of that group. And so that's how the church began to grow. Awe is a reverential fear of holiness and reverence to God that we should have, that the church should have. You know, I think some churches today have kind of gotten off course and have not followed the scriptures very well because they don't leave people with a sense of awe. They leave people with a sense, hey, we really got down today at church, you know, and entertained them. But where was the sense of awe in that? God was at work, and it says they kept feeling this sense of awe. And you know, when God is in it and God is moving, there is this sense that, hey, God is doing something good here. And there is that sense of awe. It may not be verbalized, but we feel it. This awe drew people to the early church to check it out, and many of them stayed. Not all of them, but many of them did. And the church began to grow. And as you continue reading through the book of Acts, you see that soon it grew to 5,000, And then it just quits giving numbers. It says there were multitudes of people who had joined the group. When I say that they joined the group, think about it for a minute. 15 countries people came from to Jerusalem for the day of Pentecost. They didn't stay in Jerusalem. They went back home. Okay? Just like we go on vacation, but soon our money runs out, we go back home. These 15 different countries that are represented here had people returning to their homes now with the gospel message. And they began gathering people with a sense of awe to their group. And so now there was the church in many different places all around the world who would come to the day of Pentecost to celebrate. And they had no idea when they went to Jerusalem to celebrate Pentecost, they would be leaving with much more than what they came with. But they took the gospel that they had heard, and they began sharing it with other people. And as a result, the church began to spring up and grow in other places. The groups known as the church were everywhere because of the sense of awe that was created, because of the gospel message that was preached. Second thing is, joining this group, it promotes fellowship. Verses 44 and 45. It says, those who believed were baptized, and there was a togetherness that unified them. So much so that when someone in their group had a need, someone else in the group would sell something so they could help a person in need. And that's basically what we still do today. You know, we may not don't do it quite the same way. We may not have to go sell something, but we can take out our billfold or our pocketbook and we can give some offering and help someone else who is in need. We can call it benevolence, we can call it the food pantry, we can call it the window, whatever we want to call it, but still, you know, we help people when we have a need. And you know, one of the difficulties we have sometimes at church is somebody comes in off the street and they're asking for help. We don't know them. Here in verses 44 and 45, it's talking about people from the group. People that we know. And so it's easy to help them because we know them and we probably know their situation. We don't have to wonder, well, am I going to get taken here? Because we know them. And they're going to continue to be a part of the group. And so we don't even hesitate to give them some help. Because they're a part of us. They're part of the group. We care about people. That's another reason why joining the right group is so important. People cared about us enough to tell us about Jesus. And we care enough about other people, we should tell them about Jesus too. It goes on to say here that they had all things in common. They ate together, they studied together. In some cases, they even lived together as kind of a community. If you've been here on Sunday nights, you saw on some of the videos that we have how that they actually built onto each other's houses in some cases. They didn't live in the same house, but they would build their house next to and onto the other person's house. Stay in that community. Fellowship, though, is more than just eating together. It's more than just a fifth Sunday pitch-in, carrying dinner. It's the sharing of life events together. It's sharing in things that are special. It's doing things together that build memories. You know, that's what we're going to be doing here shortly as Christmas comes around, you know. Families going to be coming to our house or we're going to their house or something. We're getting together. That's really fellowship, but it's building memories. We're doing life events together, celebrating together. These people who made up this group were fellowshipping together and sharing in the work of the church in the good times and the bad times. They were like-minded. They were doing things that helped people grow. They showed caring and concern. The Student Bible Dictionary gives the definition of fellowship like this: the family feeling and partnership between Christians who share close relationships and like-mindedness, which communicates acceptance and fosters growth. I like that. Fellowship causes growth. As we get together and we share things together, we grow together, we study together, we eat together, whatever the case may be, we find that those life events cause us to grow in our faith and share together because we get to love each other and we learn from that. Third thing is that joining this right group, it gives us purpose. It gives us purpose. Verses 46 and 47. The Christians who believed in God were so united that they did things together. People noticed that they had the same mind. It was like they had the same mind. And that mind was to do the will of God. As they met together and studied together and grew together, their spiritual life blossomed and grew. They praised God and they conducted themselves in a way that was, hey, I want to be a part of that. You know, I don't know that there's a lot of people, that don't know Jesus, that are coming to the church and say, hey, I want to be a part of that. The only way they're going to say they want to be a part of that is when they get to know us. And the only way they're going to get to know us is if we go to where they are, because they don't come to where we are. So, part of our responsibility is to go to where people are and invite them to be a part of our group. When they come, hopefully they'll feel that sense of awe, and they'll get a feeling of the fellowship and caring that we have, and they'll want to stay. They want to be a part of our group. They want to be a part of the church. You see, when we have purpose, we want to take the gospel out to other people. And that's a part of the purpose of our church. Matthew 28. We're supposed to go into all the world, and as we're going, we're supposed to share this message with people. The New York Times had a story about a little boy who was riding a bus. He sat so close to a woman dressed in a nice gray suit that everybody assumed that this boy was hers. But he really wasn't. He sat down by her, and finally another lady who sat down beside them asked if this lady's was the mother of his little boy. The little boy put his feet up on the seat in front of him, and as he did so, he kind of got the lady's dress dirty, and the dirty shoes. So she turned to the other lady and said, "Would you please tell your son to put his feet down? Got my dress dirty." But the lady said, "He's not my son. I've never seen him before in my life." The second lady looked at the little boy, and sadly for a moment, because she felt bad for him, what the first lady had said, she began to talk with him, and she said, "Hey, are you traveling alone?" He said, "Yes, I always travel alone. My mommy and daddy are both dead. Not even my Aunt Clara, but my Aunt Clara thinks that Aunt Mildred ought to take care of me some of the time. So I get on the bus and I go over to Aunt Mildred's from Aunt Clara's. I'm going to Aunt Mildred's now." The woman said, "Well, it must be tough traveling alone." "Yes," said the little boy, "it is. but I never get lost. But he said, sometimes I get very lonely. So whenever I see someone with a kind face, I like to sit down beside them. I sit close, and I pretend that I belong to them, that they belong to me. He continued, I sure hope that Aunt Mildred is home when I get there, because it looks like it's going to rain, and I don't like it outside when it rains. The woman reached over and grabbed the boy and hugged him so tight that it almost hurt, and wished for a moment that this little boy who wanted so much to belong would belong to her. You see, there are people who are looking to belong, and sometimes they ride the bus and they sit right next to you because you have that kind face and that warm smile, and they want to be a part of what you have. That's our task, that's our purpose, that's our responsibility. Be so inviting that people want what we have. They want to join us. And when they feel that way, and when they want that, then we can let them in on the secret that it's Jesus Christ that puts the smile on our face and has made us care about people and have that sense of awe because we know who Jesus is. We all want to belong to someone or something. As people joined the church, it grew to the point where the scripture says they turned the world upside down for Jesus. The sense of awe that was created in this group and then through this fellowship fostered the church to grow like it did is the same thing that we have today. We need to take the message about Jesus Christ and share it with the world. Share it with our neighbors. Share it with our friends. Invite them to the Life Nativity. Tell them what we have here is pretty special. Maybe they'll want to join us. We can take them to heaven with us. As a result of what the early church did, the numbers of believers grew in leaps and bounds. And it says, and the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. You have to belong to the church because the Lord adds you to the church if you're saved. There's no better group to belong to than the family of God. Have you joined yet? Today we're offering an invitation. If you don't know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you can today. If this is a group you'd like to belong to, we'd like to have you. If you know Jesus Christ as your Savior. If you're already a Christian, we welcome you to be a part of our congregation. If you have a need today, would you come as we stand?